Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Merrimack Police Department Community Update Show. I'm Officer Rob Kelleher, and we have a special guest today. I'd like to introduce you to Pat Murphy. Pat, thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Pat is a special person in the town. She is in the welfare department, and I use her as a great amount of resources to help me in my community service job. So, Pat, you want to tell the folks a little about yourself?
Absolutely. My title actually is the welfare administrator for the town of Merrimack, and little people know this information, but actually welfare is a required service that each municipality has to have. So I actually have a mandated service that I have to do within the town. But as you well know, there are many other services that I do beyond that, and a lot of them is the resources that are available to community members too.
And I can say that you are a great help for me when I'm dealing with, subjects that we deal with on a daily basis, and those difficult situations when we get called out and, people are in need, and, it's tough for them to find the resources and, certain times of the year. And so I thank you for what you do, and you're a valuable resource to me, and I know the community is very thankful also.
Well, thank you for your kind words.
And folks, if you ever need any, resources or any assistance, you can either call me or, refer to Pat. Pat has a lot of contacts, and, she knows the avenue to, get help to the folks who need it for our community. So today we're going to talk about another project that I asked Pat to always help me out on, and it's called the Senior Information Fair. As you can see in the folder, it's the Senior Information Fair, not to be confused with the Senior Fair. The Senior Fair is a craft fair. Ours is a Senior Information Fair, and what it is we've reached out to numerous agencies and resources to come together in one place to, provide our community and, whoever wants to come, the ability to find the resources that they need. What do you think on that?
This is an absolutely needed service. One of the problems is that most people don't know what all the services or resources are available out there. And when they start to get into a situation, especially when they're aging or they're disabled, this is actually even more critical. So this fair is actually an excellent resource for seniors, people with disabilities, and also for their caretakers, as I know we were talking about before. So it's a great resource for getting information so that even if you're planning all this stuff, you can actually get this information in advance for when you actually are a senior.
And I'm glad you said that, Pat, because I've been trying to promote and, advertise that this fair is really for, caregivers and, people who are going to be taking care of parents or, some family members in the near future. It's always important to know where to go before you need the service. It makes life a lot easier. When seniors, have some medical issues or whatever, and they, are in the hospital, there's caseworkers, and, they have the ability to find services, at that point. But for the folks who are not at that stage and, maybe soon to be, this is a great venue to come, and it's free. Did I say that? It's free to everybody. So you just come. It's just a casual event. You come in, have some coffee. We're going to have some light breakfast items. We'll have a lot of members of the police department. So just come and just grab a coffee and say hi and go to those agencies that you think you'll be needing those services, either for yourself or for the person you're caring for or aging parents. I know I went through it personally. My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and my mom tried to take care of her, and it gets to a point where a caretaker can be overwhelmed, and you need those extra resources to provide good quality care. And that's one of the resources that will be coming, the Alzheimer's of New Hampshire. They'll be there. I also talked to the Veterans Affairs Director, and they were more than happy to come down. They're going to have a few people, and they'll actually be able to enroll any veterans out there. And there's a lot of services that people probably don't even know about that they're eligible for. And with talking to her, I didn't know they will actually fill in the gaps. She said even though they might be eligible for some other service, the VA will fill in the gaps or provide other services. So please come. We have the fuel assistance, and if you know about that, I'll let Pat talk a little bit more about that. She knows more about the application process.
Yeah, fuel assistance is usually one of the questions that I get asked quite a bit. Where do I go for fuel assistance? And that is something that we asked if they would come and do information for us. So they will have information there. They'll have income guidelines, where you can apply, what kind of benefits are received. And we have many other services that we're also looking at. The other things that I want people to understand too, there are free services that you don't even have to qualify that are available. Like 211 is an information hotline for everyone in the state, and they do provide this kind of information. If you can't get out and you just are on telephone base, they will give you information by telephone. There's also a specific hotline just for the elderly and the disabled, and they will have a table with us too. And they actually will specialize in actually sitting down with seniors and going over things and services that they may need. So there's a lot of help out there if you ask the right people. I guess that's what it is. And what we're trying to do here is make sure you get the right people.
And Pat, after last winter, oh no. Hopefully people won't need the fuel assistance as much, but I don't know. I think it's going to be another harsh winter.
The only advantage we have now is that our heating costs are much lower than they were in the last 5 years, actually.
Absolutely.
So that is one advantage, and it'll make the dollars of our seniors go forth. But we also still have to remember that a lot of seniors think that, all right, I never have taken or needed assistance in the past. And when you get older, you actually need more heat. You need the temperature to be a little bit higher. And fuel assistance is there especially for the seniors to make sure that they have heating in their houses that they can keep healthy at. And that is an important feature. So even if you've never applied for assistance, it's important to look at least into the fuel assistance program, because it is one of those programs that actually has income guidelines that are higher than many other programs.
Well, I must be getting a little older, Pat, because I like my heat up a little bit higher now.
Don't we all?
So another important subject I want to touch bases with is the transportation for the seniors. I recently had numerous calls and pleas from family members that, you know, they wish their folks will stop driving. And I know that's, you know, probably the hardest thing somebody will ever have to deal with is, you know, taking their license and, you know, telling them that they can't drive anymore. But unfortunately, you know, that's part of life. And, you know, when you get to that age, you know, you have to understand maybe it's time. But with that said, so the transportation factor becomes a real, you know, issue in the community. And, you know, we don't want our senior community not get the services or, you know, be able to attend doctor's appointments and, you know, get food and stuff, you know, that they normally could do by themselves when they're driving. So you want to just touch on the transportation issue?
Absolutely. This is probably one of the number one questions that I do get calls for, and it is an important thing that seniors know what we have available in Merrimack and also through the state. One of the things that Merrimack does subsidize is what we have, a paratransit bus that we have contracted with the Nashua Transit Authority, and you have to register for this service through the Nashua Transit Authority. But if you are 60 or above, or you are considered Social Security disabled, you can register for this bus and actually get service for transportation from your door to your doctor's appointment in Merrimack or Nashua, and for a little extra money to Hudson. So the normal door-to-door service between Nashua and Merrimack is $4 each way, and then from a Merrimack address to a Merrimack doctor or place they need to go, it is $2 each way, and to go to Hudson, it's $6 each way from Merrimack to Hudson. So we do have that avenues of transportation available for seniors and all, like I said, 60 years and up. And for the disabled, they do need to register with the Nashua Transit Authority for that special service, and then you have to call in advance and schedule those appointments. So that's a wonderful resource that Merrimack does subsidize for their seniors and disabled. So it's important for people to realize that there is a service available. Other times, you know, people don't realize that sometimes their medical providers will provide coverage for transportation to doctor's offices. So if you do receive Medicaid, they will allow for transportation and the cost of transportation to a medical provider. We also have another voluntary service called Caregivers. And Caregivers was specially designed for the people in our population who are elderly and disabled, and they will match up a trained volunteer with a elderly or disabled person, and actually that trained volunteer can take them to doctor's appointments, shopping, things that they need to get around and do. So there are some resources and available things that you can look into. So you should always remember that transportation is available in for certain types of activities within Merrimack. So it's something that they should look into and take advantage of.
So folks, that's why it's important to come to this Senior Information Fair. I can't say it enough. It's from 9 in the morning until 11:30 in the morning. So if you're a late riser, good. If you're an early riser, come at 9. But please come. You'll be surprised at the services that are out there. And Nashua Eye Associates will be there, talking about, the eye issues as you age and stuff like that. And they have, certain programs she was telling me about. There's just all kinds of, agencies that will be here. There's a whole list of them, and I don't want to go through them all, but I was just, talking with Donna from the St. James Community Food Pantry. We do have folks who, live off a fixed income and, check by check, and, these folks, they rely on, the food pantries. We have 3 food pantries in town, and, it's a valuable resource for, folks who, when there's no more money, you still need to eat, and so they'll be there. If you didn't know about the service or the organization, so please come, and please bring somebody with you. I ask if you're coming, bring somebody with you. They can help you, process the information. They could be your stenographer and write everything down for you, because it is kind of overwhelming. It's there's a lot of folks there, and you'll be getting a lot of information. So if you have somebody with you, they'll help you, and you can go home and you'll have that information to
and
reach out.
I'm sorry. And we do have, I think, who do we have to thank for all the refreshments and everything like that? I know it's not paid for by the town of Merrimack.
No, the NEPBA Local 12, the Patrolmen's Union, supports this program because we love the community and we love everybody, seniors included, and that, So please come get coffee and some breakfast items, and we love putting this event on because me personally, I don't like getting those calls when I see folks not getting the services they can get and need, because I gotta say, senior folks are some of the most stubborn people I've ever met, and in a good way, but in a way too where they don't want to ask for help, and I understand that, the pride and all that, but the help is there because you deserve the help, and we want to make sure that you get the help. So I love this event. It's my favorite event of the year.
Right. Can I just also I just wanted to point out too that if you've never come to our Merrimack Adult Community Center, this is an opportunity, since this is where we have this fair, to come and see the Merrimack Adult Community Center, because a lot of people don't realize that we're very fortunate in Merrimack to have such a facility. Not every community has one, and the fact that we actually have a dedicated seniors adult center which caters to our seniors is not something that every community has. It's a beautiful place. They have other activities going on. They have a noontime meal, every meal.
I know, they have a lunch every day.
And it's actually pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
So I think at one point, I think it was only $2. It might be up a little bit more. But that's something you can sign up and have a noon meal, get to see your other seniors in the community, see what kind of activities going on.
It is a very active senior group and club, and I'm glad you said that, Pat.
Yeah, because it is an awesome opportunity just to see even that, too.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great folks that, belong to the senior club, and, they're always looking to, whatever your interests are, they have a group that's doing it, whether it's, knitting, playing cards, and they like their cards.
Dancing, too.
Dancing. They have fitness.
Yeah, exercise, yeah.
So it is. Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that, Pat. the just come and they'll be there too. You can talk to those folks, and they'll tell you what they have, and how you come and belong. And I know a lot of folks love to go and volunteer, do whatever they can.
And there is transportation available for that too, for those seniors who cannot get out. The St. Joseph's Community Services in Merrimack has actually a transportation that's free that will take seniors from their house to the community center. So transportation shouldn't be an issue with that if they have problems with that. So get out, join us.
Yeah, come, see? All this good information, we could talk for hours.
Yes. But
unfortunately, they cut us off. So, or I could spend all day talking to you folks. But no, please come. If you're working, tell your boss. It's use your morning coffee break and just stop in. You don't have to spend a lot of time. You just come, but find out what you need, and and we're there to help you find it. Well, it is October.
Right.
There's another big event coming up, and it's our Halloween Fun Night. A few years ago, we partnered up with the Merrimack Parks and Recs, and I think it was the best move that we made. We put on a great night for the little kiddos, and so we're going from the senior show to the kiddo show. But it's a great event. It's going to be October 23rd from 5 to 8 at Wasserman Park. And it's a great event. Again, it's free. You just bring your kids down. We have an awesome costume contest. Every year it's getting bigger and bigger. This year, weather permitted, I think we're actually going to move the costume contest outside because we've outgrown the indoor facility. It was like herding cattle last year.
There's also other activities. They are put on by other volunteers. They have a haunted house
and
by
that is
the
pretty
Robotics
cool.
Club. That's really cool. But there's other free activities that other volunteer groups do also. So there's a lot there.
Yeah. Every year it's getting bigger and bigger. So, and better, as we see the crowds growing, we're trying to come up with bigger and better ideas. And, we've gone from first year, I think we started with 150 goodie bags that we hand out to the kids. And last year we're up to 300 or 350. And we ended up not selling out because they're free. Everything's free. But we gave out almost 350 goodie bags. So that's thanks for you folks for coming out and participating. Because without you, it'd be boring.
Is that also courtesy of the police unions too?
The Merrimack Crime Line.
Oh, Merrimack Crime Line.
Yeah. Merrimack Crime Line supports the Halloween Fun Night for us, along with other donations that we get. We provide apples and cider from Curry Orchards, and we have some pumpkins for the kids to color, and Parks and Recs will have some games and stuff going on. We're trying to get a hayride going, but I know the high school robotics team, they do the haunted house, and every year again it's getting better and better, and I know they take a lot of pride in what they do, and those kids are geniuses. They love that stuff, so I know they appreciate everybody coming down, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. So
It's amazing how the great things that our community has in terms of even from all the volunteer organization, how much effort is put into this event, and all the free things that are available to residents. We just have a wonderful community resources and a lot of volunteers out there who make this a spectacular event. So it's a great thing you guys do, along with Parks and Rec.
Yep, we love it. And again, without the community support, and we thank you very much. You people support us tremendously, and doesn't go unnoticed. That's for sure.
Speaking of Halloween, what is it actually on the 31st this year?
It is. Halloween is October 31st from 6 to 8. We just put out a press release with all the information. And again, without getting into it too much in detail, with Halloween, there's safety precautions, and obviously, if you're driving that night, be careful. There will be kids on the road. If you're going out with your kids, obviously, try to keep them on one side of the road. Don't have them running across the road without you. If you can go up one side of the street, then go back the other side of the street instead of having the kids run across, with cars crossing. And it's always good to pack a flashlight or get the, they have really cheap reflectors. Put them on the back of your kids, so if they do, run out in front of a car, at least, the driver will be able to see the reflection. And again, like my parents and everybody else's parents, always tell your kids and, check the candy before they eat it. Unfortunately, you have to do that, but, every year you do hear about, a crazy report of, something. So please do your parental thing and make sure you check your kids' candy before they eat it. This is one, do not trick or treat. If people shut their lights off, it's either they don't participate or they ran out of candy or something. So please, if people don't have lights on, don't send your kids up to the house, and tell your kids, if there's no lights on, don't go up to the house. It's kind of just a courtesy thing. And with that, be safe, and thanks for coming on the show, Pat. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me. We'll hopefully see you at the senior fair.
Yep, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.